1811 4000। यही कंज्यूमर हेल्पलाइन।
जागो ग्राहक जागो।
Welcome back to Center Stage. Do telemarketing calls get under your skin, make you angry, ruin your day? Well, now they could actually make your day. You could cash in from the trash calls. TRAI, the telecom regulator, says subscribers can claim big bucks if they receive unwanted calls. Here's how.
We could impose a sanction in the first instance of 5,000, going to 20,000 and then repeat.
Harsh words from the man who regulates the telecom space in India, but nonetheless sweet to all of us who have been bothered by painful marketing calls time and again. Finally, there is a chance of a deterrent that will work. TRAI, or the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, has notified that service providers will be fined 5,000 rupees for the first unsolicited commercial call made to a do not call registered subscriber. But here's the bonanza, a 20,000 rupee fine for every subsequent call. All you need to do is to inform your service provider within 15 days of the call. And this time around, the regulator looks like it wants to call the shots.
If any of our regulation, we come to this conclusion that it is not being effectively implemented for want of active compliance, not just non-compliance, but active compliance from the telecom service provider, we may think of similar provision in other regulations also.
Much to smile about, though not for the telecom operators. They have been taken by surprise.
COI is deeply disappointed with this. And it is not just COI. I know that my colleagues in OSPI and other even public service operators, they're all equally surprised and taken aback at this, because it is like shooting the messenger. The messenger has brought you can't shoot the messenger. You send the person who sent the message, you have to get after him.
The TRAI order, though, according to sources, should stand the test of time. Cleverly, the regulator has used the words financial implication and not penalty, a word contestable in a court of law. The telemarketers on the other side are beginning to sound cautious.
So in some ways the TRIA strengthening or making it more rigorous is actually a good idea, but I think in some ways they have introduced it in a manner that is not the most optimal way of bringing more teeth into the
So good old days of telemarketing gags should be back soon. Very soon these telemarketing calls at odd hours could be a thing of the past if telecom regulator had a. But with telecom companies vehemently opposed to this move, it could take a while before you breathe that much awaited sigh of relief. In New Delhi, I'm Puneet Chandra for Headlines.
The National Do Not Call Registry was started in October 2007. Until now, millions of people have actually registered for it, but they're still very irritated with the fact that they continue to receive those calls. Let's take a look at some figures. Over 8.3 million phone users and about 1,600 telemarketers are registered. But despite all of that, the one thing that continues is those irritating calls. They haven't stopped at all. That brings us to the center stage debate for tonight. What happens from here? Joining us in the studio, N. Parameshwaran. He is the principal advisor for the TRAI, the man who's trying to make this proposal a reality. We also have with us Pankaj Mahindru, national president of the Indian Cellular Association, and we have Sriram Khanna, the managing editor of Consumer Voice. I start with you, Mr. Parameshwaran. What's the expectation that TRAI has by putting this into place?
Thank you. The very idea of bringing this regulation is to improve the compliance of the regulations that the telecom service providers has to abide by.
But the fact of the matter is, whatever you've tried so far hasn't really worked. So do you acknowledge the fact that since last year, whatever TRAI has tried has actually been quite a dud?
No, I wouldn't certainly agree with that. There has been a reduction in the number of unsolicited communications that the people have been receiving. But we do certainly feel that there has to be an improvement in the compliance of our regulations. That's why we have brought this.
And the fact is, I too am registered on the National Do Not Call registry, and I can tell you from personal experience that I continue to get as many irritating and obnoxious calls as I used to. As a customer, everybody wants to know from you, you know, the TRAI has been making these huge plans, they aren't working on the ground.
No, precisely, the observations of the compliance like this have made us to do this. That's why we have brought this regulation.
All right, let's bring in Khanna for the moment. Mr. Khanna, as someone who represents consumers, do you agree with what Mr. Parmeshwaran is saying, that there has been a reduction in sheer figures, because the perception is there's still as many irritating telemarketers out there making those really irritating calls?
See, I think there are two major progress points. One is telemarketers have got registered, which means they can be identified. And the second is more than 8 million people have registered on the Do Not Call registry. Now comes the issue of, if somebody still calls and your number is on the Do Not Call registry, what happens to him? And this is what the TRAI has brought, and we welcome it, because until you slap fines, until you take action, the industry does not seem to understand. And I do believe we should watch this for the next 6 months, and I do believe that the incidence of people still getting calls after registering on the Do Not Call registry is going to go down sharply once the fines start getting imposed.
All right, Pankaj Mahindru, it really seems that the telecom operators aren't keen on doing this voluntarily, and therefore TRAI is being forced to pull out the sword.
You know, I'm not clear about this. Telemarketing is something which is independent of the operators. These are about 150,000 companies in the country who could be very small operators, 5 to 10 kind of people who are making calls. And I think this elitist feeling of privacy, which is a Western concept, should not be imposed.
Mahindru is a universal concept. How can you dismiss it by saying it's a Western concept?
It's not a universal concept. When we are going on the road in India, you have somebody, you know, putting a magazine under your nose, and people tell, you know, because of huge amount of unemployment, you have people selling stuff on the road.
So you're saying it's happening on the roads, and therefore telecom companies which earn millions of dollars every year will allow it to happen because it's just the way things are in India.
You see, it's like shooting the messenger who's not responsible for...
Well, the messenger is carrying a wrong message, sir.
No, it's not the responsibility of an operator who's making the call.
Then whose responsibility is it?
It's the responsibility of the telemarketing company, which could be an outfit which is, you know, in Crawford Market or in Karol Bagh, covering a little portion of East Patel Nagar, and covering, say, making calls to 500 consumers.
But Mr. Mahindra, you explain this to me. Why is it that despite being on the National Do Not Call registry, millions of customers across the country receive those irritating calls every single day?
Because out of these 150,000 telemarketing companies, only 13,500 have registered, and there are operations which are far beyond that, which are small companies who provide employment to 5 to 10 to 20 people, and who are doing a valuable job for small marketing people. If you are not a big brand and you are a small shop in South Extension or in Karol Bagh or in Crawford Market, how do you advertise? How do you market? Telemarketing is a tool.
He's got a point.
Telemarketing is a tool. So let's not get into a very Western elitist privacy concept that, you know, this privacy is holy cow.
Mr. Mahindra, rather convenient, isn't it? When you want FDI inflows, you say this is what's happening in the West.
I'm sorry, let's not confuse it with that. We are talking about consumers, we are talking about trade, we are talking about poor people trying to make a livelihood. Let's not confuse it with FDI and all that stuff.
Mr. Parmeshwaran, is this rather rather silly attitude of the telecom companies, where they're saying because there's nothing we can do about it, they're finding all sorts of reasons. They're finding newspaper wallas on the road. They're saying they do it and therefore telemarketing operators should be allowed to do it as well. Surely this is something the customer does not want, and you're the voice of the customer, sir.
No, that is, see, this is precisely the thing. What our regulations has mentioned, see, this regulation was brought in June last year. What has said that if the subscriber complains that if he, see, to start with, the subscriber has to put his number in the do not call register. After that, if he gets a unsolicited call, he informs the service provider, and the service provider has to put a tariff of 500 rupees on the first call that he has made. Second time it should be 1000 rupees, and third time from the same number of the call comes, he has to disconnect that. These are the regulations as per the TRAI that the service provider has to abide by.
But given the sort of attitude that the telecom companies are showing, are you even hopeful that this will see the light of the day? They're finding all sorts of reasons as to why those telemarketing calls are absolutely acceptable.
No, this is, see, we are working towards a positive, constructive mechanism through which this, if somebody doesn't want to be disturbed, there's no reason why somebody should call them up for a marketing.
See, what my friend from the Indian Cellular Association is saying is a valid point, that small companies in telemarketing should not be inhibited. I agree with him. Nothing prevents them from getting their list scrubbed from the registry. We are only saying, by the way, it's less than 5% numbers throughout the country, less than 5%. You still have 95% people to call. Please go ahead and do it. No problem. What is your problem? Can't you excuse 5% people out of 250 million?
Mr. Khanna, there is no problem.
Well,
The people who are making the calls are not connected with the telecom operators. They are independent companies.
They are using the telephone circuits and the lines of the operators. They are paying them money for calling.
All right, gentlemen, let me just turn the theory on its head for a moment.
I leave it to your audience to that how much a telecom operator is responsible for a telemarketing company making calls.
All right, let me just turn that logic on its head. Let me put this question to Mr. Parmeshwaran. So my point is this: why should someone have to register for this do not call service? Why should everyone not automatically go into a list where they say, please do not call me because no customer wants to be bugged? If you want to call someone, let me register. Yes, maybe I want something that's selling in Crawford Market, maybe something selling in South Extension, I want that. Let me sign up for a service where I say, yes, please call me, I'm interested in your calls. Why can't we do it that way?
No, it doesn't work that way. See, look at today in the country we have 282 million telephone subscribers. Out of this, only about 8.3 million people have registered, which means the rest 274 million are interested or doesn't mind receiving the calls.
That's not what it means. That's a very convenient way of looking at it.
Let us also look at internationally. I mean, all the countries who have implemented is a model of do not call. Do not model which has been implemented across the world by all the countries. So this is the model that we have also followed. And when out of 282, only 8.3 million are do not want to receive that, well, they should not receive. But the others. And remember, there is in the domestic, in the country also, there is a very vibrant the call center industry.
All right. So far, the TRAI has been saying, do not call, please do not call. The telecom companies haven't done much to help. It's continued to be the way it is. Now they're saying, dare not call. If you call, you will be fine. Let's hope that it just works out through this. You've tried it the normal way, it's not worked. Now they're actually talking about imposing severe fines. Let's hope that this will work, and if it does, Mr. Parmeshwaran, the one thing I can promise you is millions of telecom consumers across the country will give TRAI a big thank you. For the moment, thank you all for joining us on Center Stage tonight. We're ending our show for the moment. We'll see you again same time tomorrow with another big story we'll be putting on Center Stage. Till then, from the entire Center Stage team, thanks for watching.